Hey guys, this is Jared Flinn with the BulkLoads Podcast. Tyler's in here with me.
How's it going?
Summer's rolling.
Yeah, it is.
How was your 4th?
It was good. Spent some time with some family and grilled out. So
Did you sport the hat?
I did, always.
I sported it as well.
Yeah.
Actually, everybody asked where I got it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring extras, so I should have.
Speaking of the hat, we're getting to just a few left. So
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you guys want one, definitely email us podcast@bulkloads.com and we'll get you one sent out.
No gimmicks. We will really send you one, right?
Yep.
So get a hold of Tyler and we'll do that. And actually, I saw you finally put the shirt up.
Yeah, the new summer shirts.
Yeah. This was my idea. We did one last year. I don't know if you saw. We did the Farmers Grow It, Truckers Move It one, which was a hit.
Yep.
This one, we just had Keep On Trucking. I wasn't smart enough to come up with a better tagline. But we have these in blue and in orange.
Yep.
And if you want one, how do you get one?
Yep. Just email podcast@bulkloads.com and we'll communicate with you through there and get you one sent out. Jared, you actually drew this out, this design, right? On Scratch pad?
Well, I had the original Scratch, but
Yeah.
I put the finished touches on it. So
Yeah.
I'm not that talented. Digitally. But cool. Well, today's podcast, we're going to bring on fellow BulkLoads member and Smart Freight and TMS user, Emile Van Der Merwe.
Yeah,
Did I get
think
that
that's
right?
how you pronounce it.
Yeah. Emile has been on the platform for a while, but earlier this year, he actually sent me a LinkedIn message asking if he could talk with me. And I replied, yeah. And he actually asked if I could kind of help mentor him or coach him, which honestly, I was honored to be. Nobody's actually asked me to do that. And so we've had a series of conversations over the past couple months. But I asked Emile, I said, hey, on one of these calls, can we actually videotape it and record it and go over some of the questions that you have? So today's podcast, this is actually a coaching podcast on using our platform, BulkLoads, and would really encourage you, again, stay tuned to this. There's some questions that Emile asked and some answers that I gave him that maybe a lot of people don't know about using the board.
Yeah, his story is really kind of crazy, but super cool how he moved to the United States and started his trucking business, how it was kind of always his dream, but he's gone from 0 to 6 hoppers in 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's super quick.
And it hasn't been by accident.
Yeah.
I think this guy, he is determined. And you can tell by listening to him. I think he's out there listening. And again, I don't do this to pat ourselves on the back, but he's figuring out a way to grow and outsource the things that he can't do to continue to grow. And he's doing a phenomenal job.
He is.
I think this is inspiring for me to know that, hey, if you want to get there, you can get there, and we can help you get there as well.
Yeah. I really like how he's just in his truck and it's just raw and uncut and real.
I think we're going to do more of them this way. I don't know. There's just something about it. It's like, hey, this is the real deal. There's nothing staged about this, and it's a great conversation. So, with that said, here's my conversation with Emile Van Der Merwe with Van Der Trucking. Hey, Emile, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, like the audience can see, you're working today. I mean, you're actually in motion, and that's awesome. You reached out to me earlier this year, which, by the way, I'm flattered about, through LinkedIn. You were already a BulkLoads member, but you're working on trying to grow your business, which we're going to talk about that, just kind of where you're at, which is really impressive. But yeah, today's goal is, I think, really pulling out ways that you can actually grow your business, specifically negotiating rates, getting in direct contact with shippers. And we're going to kind of go through that list. So I'm super excited about this.
Oh yeah, me too, for sure. And as I understand, you know the other side of it, the grain merchandiser side. So that'll be really interesting to hear your thoughts and your insights.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, I want to kick it off. You got a great story. And I mean, if this goes longer or shorter, I don't care, because I think it's fascinating, dude. Because you sent me that original message. You came over to the States, how many years ago from South Africa?
So I came over in August of 2019, and I'll give you the short run of it. I come from a farming background, and I was working for a farmer in Zambia, and I had the opportunity come up to kind of start my own thing. And I had a couple of buddies who came over to the States, and they said they made pretty good money working on farms, and they got quite a bit saved away. So my plan was to come over here, work for maybe a year, and get my own farm started. That all went well, and then I met a girl, and
Nice.
life happened, and we got married, got a couple of kids together now, and yeah, I was working for a farmer, and I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, I believe, um, and trucking kind of resonated with me, and yeah, so what's it now? 4 years later, and I'm a year into my trucking business and trying to grow from here, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah, and if correct me if I'm wrong though, when you came over, I mean, I think you said you had how much money to your
I
name?
had I had $100 in my pocket and a suitcase full of clothes, and that
Wow.
was it.
Yeah.
Um,
And then today, because I mean, as we speak right now, you're running how many trucks?
so I'm running 3 of my own trucks, 3 owner operators, and 6 trailers.
Wow. So I
So,
mean,
and I've been in business for a year and about 2 weeks. So,
yeah, that's a success story in its own. So congratulations, seriously.
American dream.
Yeah, I mean, it's the American dream right then and there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Um, you also you use BulkLoads right now. We got
Hmm.
you introduced to TMS. You've been using that too.
Yes.
How's been your interaction with Bulk
So,
TMS?
bulk TMS has been a game changer for me. Um, I found that managing 1, 2, 3 trucks is fine while I'm driving myself, and then as soon as I hit that 3 truck mark, it's a lot of work to keep track of loads and invoices and who has been invoiced, who hasn't been invoiced, who hauled what, and the TMS really simplified that for me. Um, right now, I use it on a daily basis. I keep it updated, and I know what's happening. I know who's where, what's been delivered, and it probably takes away the job of an assistant for me, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it was meant to
So,
be, and then I love the plug you put on there selfishly for us, but we released TMS 3 years ago, kind of in infancy stages, and man, we've
yeah.
come a long way, and yeah, we're excited. I mean, every week we landed another count yesterday, and
Hmm.
but the goal is what makes it more exciting is the more people we get on the platform, the more we get to figure out um, how you all use it and experience it, and even make changes, and hopefully, even as you grow with us, we can make that system even better because we know
Mm,
we're still got a long ways to go growing that
I
service
know.
as well.
I know what makes it really easy is some of the shippers use it too, and they just send me the loads over on the
Yep.
TMS system, and that makes it so easy. There's
Yeah.
no work from my end on
Yeah.
those
In a
loads.
perfect world, the more we get on there, it simplifies it for everybody on the platform.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And the way that it integrates with Smart Freight Funding makes it very simple to use as well.
yeah, I
Like
was gonna ask you that too. Yeah. I mean, you're actually using like all four of our products, which is you made me want to. I mean, I think there's others out there, but actually that's awesome. And man, I owe you a lot of gratitude for that. So
I honestly, I don't think I would have been able to grow this fast without using your product. It's been a real help along the way.
okay.
I do have a suggestion for a 5th one,
Sure.
an ELD that integrates with your TMS.
Man, I've always wanted to shy away from hardware. I mean, I guess we can do a mobile-based one, but,
Uh,
I think, that one is always I mean, never say never, but I've always been torn just with I know there's bigger companies out there with a
uh,
lot deeper pockets. I shouldn't say I should be nervous or scared for that, but I've always thought, "Man, is that something that we can do or not?" But, maybe you're the motivation that we need to be thinking that way.
I'll be your first customer if you do try that.
Well, let's talk about,
So,
man, business is going good, but man, the industry is always changing. There's the
mm,
ups and downs. I mean, it's no secret out there. We're probably in a little lull of the market. We're seeing a little correction versus last year. Um,
hmm
one question you'd asked me a while back was just, hey, one thing, how do you negotiate better rates or get better rates with your shippers?
yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, and I have some strategies and techniques I want to share, but like, what's talk about? I mean, I know the reason why make more money, but like, what's the problem you've been facing when talking to shippers or brokers about rates?
So, I'm gonna take a step back if you don't mind. So I run a reefer too recently, and I find reefer loads are really easy to negotiate. The broker always has room for negotiation. But when working with direct shippers, I feel like that room is a lot less, and it's hard to find consistency.
Hmm.
Um, I've got a couple good clients that I do my main business with, um, and they've been pretty good to me, and I get consistent loads from them. But I think for me, finding consistent good rates, that's kind of what I'm struggling with, and I'm guessing there's a lot of people that struggle with that too, because I mean, and I find that grain shippers are really hard to negotiate with. Um,
So I'll say this, I worked for a grain company for 6 years,
yeah.
and I was the transportation guy working with all these shippers that were trading
Hmm.
the commodities, the feed grains, the grains, even fertilizers and all that. And what always stood out to me on carriers that I mean, there was I kind of had carriers in different classes. I had my A carriers; those are the guys that called in. They were super friendly. I wanted to do business with them.
Hmm.
Um, like, I knew if I called them that they would perform for me. There was service involved on their end. I had my B carriers. I knew that those guys were going to be a little bit tougher to deal with. They're probably a little flighty. They would come in, maybe come out at different times, that they weren't as reliable, I guess is the best way.
Hmm.
And then I had my C carriers, and those were my last chance. Hey, I know these guys are problem children. I may book a load. They don't, they won't even call and it doesn't get moved. And I got to figure out. But I had them classified that way.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, that those A carriers, there was a couple of things that just really stood out and allowed me, when we had to get to the negotiating table and negotiating rates, was just like everything was always dealt in a very, considerate, professional way.
Mm.
When there got to be, I don't want to say mudslinging, but when there got to be emotions played into it,
Mm.
um, that kind of made it a difficult situation. When there was negativity, a lot of negativity, that was always a difficult situation. But I can think of a handful of carriers. I just knew that, hey, when I talked to them, say I proposed a rate to them on a
Yeah.
load, and they didn't like it, they'd say, hey, man, I thank you for this offer. Um, Looking at this, can we do better than this, or is this all
Hmm.
is this what it is to make it work? And then I'd go back and say, well, what do you need? And I think that's where it's sometimes it takes a little bit of back and forth of finessing to get that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's supply and demand. I mean, there's a supply and demand. If
Mm.
there's just so
Mm.
much you have in it, which we were right now, rates have gotten a little bit more competitive, so it kind of narrows down the margin. But it just seemed like if there was just more empathy and compassion, like, hey, I'm looking out for your best interests, just
Hmm.
as I'm looking out, you're looking out for mine. That always
Yeah.
it just always seemed to do. I just, it was funny, and I want you to speak here, but last week, I got a call from a carrier in North Central Kansas. Haven't talked to the guy since I left Bartlett back in 2011. And this guy, he said, man, I just want to call and thank you, man. He goes, there was two people that always stood out to me that I dealt with that were shippers. He goes, it
Yeah.
was you, and it was another gentleman at ADM. And I was
That's
like, man,
crazy.
his name's Adam. I said, Adam, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I said, why was that? He's like, hey, I just knew when, when I was in a pinch, you were someone I could call and you were willing
Yeah.
to do whatever you could to help.
Mm.
And he goes,
Mm.
that stood out to me. And, and again, I mean, I dealt with thousands of different truckers, but like for him to take the time and tell me that, it meant a lot. So,
Oh, I can imagine that. Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed what sometimes helps if I'm like, if they get a rate, and I'm like, well, I can take 10 or 15 loads, and then I'm like, can you do like 5 cents more a bushel or whatever? And then that normally kind of, I get a little bit increase on that. Um, so that's one of the strategies that I found that helps a little bit, but yeah, it's tough right now, I think.
and it depends on the situation. Let's just go back to that 5 cents a bushel.
Mm.
When that rate is offered out there, do you already know bottom dollar mile, what that is per mile and what that is? I mean, as far as money to you?
Yeah, if I make a call, I sit there with a calculator and miles, so I'm ready to figure out what's what. Um, and I think for the most part, um, getting rates. So we haul a lot of feed ingredients, and feed ingredients and rates aren't that bad. They're not what they were a year ago, where you didn't really care what you brought back. But now, what they are now, we can't be turning and burning.
Yep.
It just doesn't work. And those backhauls, they're really everyone's competing for them, I guess. And that just makes it so hard to get a good rate. And the shippers, I think, know that, because if I don't take it, the next guy is hard up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Roughly how many, I mean, it all depends on the time of the year and all that, but how many shippers are you dealing with kind of on a consistent basis?
Consistently,
5 or 6?
Yeah, not more than 10.
Not more than 10.
Yeah, I got like probably 3 big shippers. They're my main guys, and then a couple of guys who I do backhauls with.
Have you met any of those shippers face to face?
I have not.
Have you ever thought about that?
I have.
That was another thing too. And again, we're in a business where you can go, years and maybe never meet someone that you're doing business with. But
hi, I'm Emile with Van Der Trucking. I've recently started using BulkLoads' TMS system. I really like it. It makes dispatching so simple, and it cuts out a lot of the paperwork. I can dispatch a load straight to my drivers. They get it. They upload the paperwork once they're done hauling the load, and I get it almost in real time. And I can send invoices straight out of the app, which means I get paid a lot faster. So yeah, I really like working with it. It has made my life so much easier and saves me a lot of time in the office.
I can remember the times that certain trucking companies came and visited me, and it was during their slow times, but they would drop in and just say, man, I just want to meet you. I wanted to, drop off some hats, shirts that I have for my company, but it was something that stood out to me. And I guess where I'm going with this is how can you stand out above any other trucking company out there? And some of these may sound very minuscule, but can you, when you are slow, can you drop by and actually go in and visit them? I know, merchandise or swag, it seems to be overdone, but like, hey, you're putting your name or giving them an item with your name on it that, hopefully they'll put on their desk or they'll wear around their house or share with other people. And I think that's another avenue. Like, hey, what are ways that I can get in front of this person more than anybody else? And
that's a really good idea.
Yeah, just setting yourself apart. And again, it may seem so small in the beginning, and it may not help right now when you need it the most. But man, that's when these people are going to remember that, hey, this guy came by and actually sat down with us. He, wanted to see kind of how our operation worked, hey, how we can benefit them. And again, I think we're in an industry where, rates are pretty consistent, but it's the service that we provide that's going to be the game changer.
Yeah. That's some solid advice. I definitely realized from the start, service is number one, and communication.
Yep.
Someone said you can have a bad month, but you can't have a bad day of communication.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very, very true.
Yeah. Well, here's another example. That was gonna be one of my other points is, with service, communication is key. And we're in this industry where sometimes we don't realize how much things people want to know about that. And here's a perfect example. I think everybody in the United States now uses Amazon. Well, a couple of years ago, I started getting a notification that my Amazon delivery was 5 doors from my house. I really don't care. Oh, that's cool. Well, now I've realized that I actually enjoy seeing that. So it wasn't something that I asked for, even think about it on a shipper side. Maybe I'm not asking for that, but maybe that's a service I can provide to them saying, hey, I am, from a delivery standpoint, I am 10 minutes out, I'm 30 minutes out. And that's another thing too, Emil, we're working on some of this, but some of these things may seem overwhelming at once, but there are automations out there that you can set this into play where you can make a lot of these pretty selfless. Pretty automatic.
I'm just thinking about your TMS system. I'm pretty sure that sends tracking updates to an email if you wanted it to.
It does.
I haven't tried it, but I was gonna reach out to some of my shippers and see if they would be interested in receiving those updates.
And I think that's just too, more people, we talk about it, more shippers now, they want that Uber experience. They want to see, hey, can I pull up my phone or my desktop and can I see that truck where it is anytime? And here's another interesting thing. Like, how do you increase communication digitally more than verbally? And here's another example. The other day, I got to take, I have a pickup and it's got a recall on it. So, I mean, it's the dreaded, I got to figure out when to take this thing in there. It's going to take a bunch of time to, to get this scheduled and all that. Anyways, they sent me just the dealership sent me a simple text saying, "Hey, here, schedule your appointment, click on this." And within a couple clicks, I was able to schedule my appointment without ever talking to a human being, which for me was amazing. Like for me, it's like I didn't want to have to call the service department, get on hold, then somebody look at my account, and then it was all done through text. And here's
All of
what
that
even
time.
more, I scheduled this appointment and realized that I scheduled the time that it wasn't going to work. And I just replied to the text saying, "Hey, I can't make this work. Can I do the following week at this time?" And within 5 minutes, they replied back, "Yep, that's fine. We'll see you then."
Wow, that's
So
I,
I say all that. It's like there's, and it's just interesting. How can we, as shippers, but even as you as carriers, how can you provide? Because you guys are providing a service to shippers. Shippers are paying you to move
yeah.
their freight. Brokers are paying. So how can you set yourself apart different than anybody else? Where they say, "Hey, this guy sends me these text alerts or these email notifications. This guy has stopped by." And like when I see, you know Emile coming on my phone, I know that this is going to be a pleasant conversation.
Mm. Well, I'm definitely gonna give that a try.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think that's worth it.
yeah. One thing I was going to give you, and some people know about this, you may already do know. Um, I love marketing and I love sales. It's one of, even when I worked at Bartlett, one thing I realized with trucking was, hey, how can I get my, this was almost now 20 years ago. How can I get my information in front of the right people as quick as possible?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I realized, like, hey, at that time, I can send text messages to people. So here's what I'm saying on bulk loads. I don't know if you realize that we have, if you want to grow your business and maybe look at other shippers outside your network, don't just look at the loads that are listed. Have you ever looked on our shippers tab,
I
Emil?
have not. No, I
Okay.
haven't.
And one thing I would encourage you to do, in a time like this where this is kind of low, business is kind of slow, and
Yeah.
you may think that, hey, I have every shipping company in my lanes that I'm already talking to. Well, we have a lot of shippers, even historically, some guys that just post when they need trucks and don't post all the time in that database. You can go to our shippers tab
Oh,
and you can search Nebraska, upper bottom. I mean, you can do it specifically, high
yeah.
side, low side, and all that, and it'll pull you up a lot of all of our shippers, present and past. But we make it even more easier than that. You can actually, with one click, send a message to all those shippers. And you can say,
Oh.
"Hey, this is Emile with Van Der Trucking. I am looking, we're based here in Nebraska, this
Mm-hmm.
part. We have X amount of trucks." And the thing is, don't make it just a very blanket, email.
Mm.
Send a message that's going to attract them. Say, "Hey, we want to earn your business. I run this amount of trucks. We have an exceptional service. We want to prove ourselves to you. Here's my number. Would you be willing?" You can, with one click, send that out and hit. And I have to look it up here, recently, but in excess of probably 300 shippers
That's a lot.
for Nebraska.
I'm gonna look into that. It would just be dumb not to
Well,
not
yeah,
to
and,
make
and
use
here's
of
the thing
it.
too. The backlash you'll hear, when I mention this to people is, number one, it's like, I don't want everybody calling me. I don't want all these email replies. I'm like, you're in business to do this, right? I mean, you're in business to get these and field these.
Yeah.
So if you don't want them, then I think that's just missed opportunity. And you can always
Yeah. Yeah.
delete an email from someone. You can always, not answer a phone call, but let these shippers reach out to you. Let them know
Mm-hmm.
where you are, what you're looking for, and then they can reach out to you. And what's interesting, a lot of these shippers would rather be contacted softly like that than
Mm-hmm.
actually picking up the phone and calling them. And I'm sure you've experienced this, but more and more shippers, they have a full plate of things that they got to get accomplished in the day for them. And again, may sound rough, but like for them to pick up the phone and talk to someone and go through that, like sometimes that can be challenging. But hey, if you send me
Yeah.
an email with what you're looking for, I'll put you on a list. And when the moment comes or when I have freight that's available, I'll reach out to you and see if we can make that work.
Yeah. And I think that just kind of shows that you're dedicated, because if you took the time to look for the shipper, they know you're hungry for the work compared to them having to go find someone.
Yeah.
And I think, to agree with you, I think it's all that opportunity. The more opportunity you have, the more you can grow. You got to have those phone calls coming in, otherwise you're not growing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a mindset, and I think some people, it can get overwhelming talking with, different people and feeling different. But, Emil, you're the driver in your seat. You're going to make or break your business. I mean, you're going to be the one. You're the face of the company, and you're going to be the one to hope grow it to the next level. So, I think you're on the right track, and man, hopefully some of these things that we went over today, some of these techniques and strategies can even help get you and propel you to that next level.
I think if I implement all three of them, it'll make a big change. I can't see how it cannot make a change. And,
The last thing I'll ask you, Emil, I'm just kind of curious. Do you, and maybe you've listened to some of my previous podcasts, and I'm going to get it on a little soapbox here, but do you put down goals that you want to achieve? Do you have a goal of like how many trucks you want to be at here in the next, 2 years or 5 years or 10 years?
yes, I do. So I have a little routine. I write my goals down almost every morning and almost
That's
every
awesome.
night.
Okay.
Because I kind of feel like that keeps me focused, and I don't lose focused of what I want. Otherwise, I get sidetracked, I feel like, and I lose, and especially in the hard times, you lose sight of what your goals are. You get caught up in the day-to-day small things that don't really matter as much as the bigger goals.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I never did it until when I was getting my MBA. We had a professor that he was big on goal setting and writing down goals. And what was interesting, he had us write down like 10 things that we wanted to get done, in the next 20 years. And I still have that piece of paper. Actually, I took a picture and I got it. I have it saved on my phone. But by golly, man, I've hit every one of those. But even here recently, I became a fanatic of like writing things down, because again, like you said, if you don't have it written down, then it's floating in your mind. I mean, it's just it's not written down. And I don't know if you listen to a previous podcast where I even talked about like writing down the number of revenue, writing down what revenue marker you want to have by the end of the year. And it sounds so scary, and it may sound, almost egotistical, if I'm saying that right, but putting down that number that that you have that to hit. And one thing, it's going to be something you look at every day, and sometimes it's going to seem like a stretch. Some days it's going to seem like you're going to be able to hit that. But the thing is, and I'm just throwing this out there, if your number is, let's just say 5 million, and you come in at 4.7, 4.8, you're still coming in pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be, and another thing too, is just another side. I would challenge you to almost, look at your operation and set a goal. Like by December 31st, I want to be at this revenue goal. I mean, it can be net profit, gross profit, or just overall revenue for the company.
Yeah.
And that way you have that goal. But I think keep that thing like, on your dash, keep it, where you can see that number, you're going to see it every day. Put it on your phone, where it almost becomes psychologically like in your head that, hey, I have to be at this number by the end of the year.
I think that's a very good idea. I actually, I said to myself, I wanted to have 10 trucks in my first year, and I didn't quite hit that number. But I got halfway there, and for me, that's a big win. And I think just putting in the effort to try and achieve that makes things more possible, because if you're aiming low, you're going to put in the minimum amount of effort needed. So no, I think that's very true.
And I could be second. Maybe there's more people out there doing that, but I think too, like, man, you have to have, man, without a vision, and you're spinning your wheels. You're not going anywhere. You got to have that plan. And for me, my heart's been in this business. My heart's been in this business to see other people win in this game of trucking. You and I both know it's a very tough business. The turnover is just crazy high on trucking companies. But how do we, really as a company fix that? I'm saying for BulkLoads, and how do we help promote and really get people like you out there that can get to that level and reach those goals? So, well, cool. Well, Emil, any last questions before we close out of here?
No, thank you. These have been some really great insights. And I'm actually excited to go meet some shippers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, we covered a lot in this show. If you do have questions, especially on bulk loads, getting on that shippers tab,
Yeah.
let us know. But man, I just encourage you to check it out. And you and I, we still communicate quite a bit. I'm going to follow up with you here probably in the next
Mhm.
couple of weeks just to see how that worked out.
Good deal. Good deal. And I just want to give a shout out to all your guys in all your departments. They're all really great to work with.
Oh,
Every
thank
single
you.
one of them. They're always helpful. And yeah.
All right. Thanks, Emil. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jared.
Tyler, I like how Emil mentioned how he met a woman
Yeah.
and stayed.
Yep.
So I think we can all relate to that in some shape or form.
Yep. Exactly.
We're here partly because of a woman.
Yep.
I know I am.
Yep. Me too.
So that was cool. I hope you enjoyed this. There's a couple things that we just want to highlight. Again, shame on us. Sometimes we assume people know how to do things on the load board.
Yeah.
And we do have two guys. That's their full-time job, is helping teach and educate guys, but we need to do a better job of that, to be honest.
Yeah. And Jared, what I think you're referring to is whenever you guys were talking about the shippers tab with Emil, and that's something that he didn't try. But man, that is such a good way to just write a single email and blast it out to all these contacts to make connections. And so how you can do that actually is just going on BulkLoads.com. There's a shippers tab on there. If you're a carrier, you can filter it out and it'll just give you a whole list of shippers and brokers on our site. You can write up one email. We ask that you be direct, exactly what you're looking for, send it out to all those guys. And a lot of times they'll reply back to you and even put you on their email list for future loads that they have to move.
And as of now, you have to do it on the website, not the app. But you can do it pretty easy on there. We can coach you how to do that. And I would say this, don't just do it once or twice. Do it every week because people, I'm in the game of marketing and sales. People, you have to be repetitive. And people have to see your name over and over and over to realize that, hey, you're serious and you mean to do business.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome. Any closing remarks before we?
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to touch on the Bulk Insurance Group and just how they've been doing real quick. I got a review here from Pedro Escalona that I'll read real quick. He left his review saying, interacting with Zach, Connie, and Christina have been amazing. They are the kindest and most helpful individuals you could hope to have dealing with. Exceptional team at Bulk Insurance Group. Thank you for everything, guys. Blessings to all. So we thank you, Pedro, for leaving that review for us. But man, the guys at Bulk Insurance Group, we're getting more and more guys wanting quotes from us. And I heard the other day, actually, Zach was talking. We got a quote back, and we were looking to save this guy $40,000 on his premium.
Nice.
Which is, we're not going to say that we're going to do that for everyone, but give us a shot. We could definitely help you out.
I think we know that it's a pain in the butt to switch insurance. I mean, I'm the same way. When I think about switching all my personal lines, my home and all my autos, there's a little bit of anxiety that I get, but I can promise you this, we would love to earn your business and we will do everything we can to give you the utmost service and hopefully business for your company. We've now been established and we have a process down, and I know you may be thinking in the back of your mind, I'm good. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I have someone I've been using for years. Man, I would just love to see if we could help out. We'll do everything on our end to take away any additional calories that you have to burn in doing that. I know there are some things that you will need to sign or get from your previous agent, but man, please give us a shot. We'd love to earn that business.
Yeah, and we've made the process super easy. If you just go to the BulkLoads Insurance tab or bulkinsurance.com, we have a little chat box down there to where you don't even need to submit a form. You can pull that chat box up and you'll be talking with a real person from Bulk Insurance Group. It's not AI. It's not a automated response system. So you can get in contact with somebody right away without having to jump on the phone or anything like that.
Tyler, somebody asked me the other day about our bulk conference. They want to come next year. We do have a date tentatively planned. If you want to learn, or if you want to get on that list, tickets aren't for sale yet,
right?
But they will be. Go to bulkfreightconference.com, and there's a little email slot. You can put your email in, and you'll be notified when the tickets go on sale.
Yep, exactly. I'm excited for it. We're getting ready to revamp that website, put some old content from last year's or from this past conference that we had in 2023 And there's a lot of cool videos that we're going to upload on there.
I'm stoked.
Yeah,
I really am. I think not just the conference itself, but the network effect, and not just us, but meeting other people in the industry. There's so much value, so much that you'll be able to learn. So, man, go ahead and get your email on there so we can contact you when the tickets are for sale.
Yeah, I can say the one thing I'm looking forward to the most, besides the networking, is the panel discussions with some of our members. They get a little bit heated and they're fun to watch.
It's interesting when you get a carrier, a broker, and a shipper all on stage together.
Yeah, and it does get heated, but they really do figure out issues and problems that they can solve, each party, how they can contribute better.
We're in the business of solving problems.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. Well, before we close out of here, I want to make mention, if you have any prayer requests, we do have an email for that. It's just prayer@bulkloads.com. Send that to us. It's completely anonymous. We will pray for you and your family, and it can be anything, personal, business related. This past week, I've gotten several prayer requests that we've put them down, and we do take that serious. We do prayers at our office, we would love to pray for you and your business and your family.
Yep.
We don't take that lightly, and we want to make sure that and extend that out to you all as well. So awesome. Well, as always, thank you for listening to the BulkLoads Podcast. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed on any one of our channels. And if you know someone that can benefit from this, maybe even another member that may not know some of these features that are available, please share this out there for them so they know that as well.
Yep.
So awesome. Thank you very much. And as always, God bless.